From Section 204, Heavy Hockey Podcast with Michael and Guess. Heavy hockey isn't dead, it's just getting started.
Hey guys, it's Michael here from the Heavy Hockey Podcast. I have got one of my first guests that I had when it was Oilerslive. I have got the, and Paige, you probably want to turn the volume off on the feed. Heavy Hockey Podcast. I have one of my first guests, Paige, who has been there right from the start, one of my favorite guests that we had back when she used to live in Edmonton. And she's a big Oilers fan. If you've seen any pictures of her hockey cave, it's I'd call it a man cave, but I guess that doesn't apply in this instance. Anyway, we're happy to have Paige back and on the pod, and welcome back, Paige.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I don't normally, when it comes to the Heavy Hockey Podcast, I don't normally do this live, but you're a special guest, and so and I think people want to hear about what you're doing now, and lots of people are, I think they're fans of what you did before. Of course, you used to do some writing on some of the blog sites and Oilers Nation and a few other sites, if I'm right. And let us know what's your new role today with. You're now working with the Kelowna Rockets.
So I am the Director of Communications and Social Media with the Kelowna Rockets out here in the Dub.
In the Dub. And is that, by the way, is that pretty common, like commonplace nickname for everybody, even around the league?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everybody knows what you're talking about, but just curious what the people there say. So now, how long have you been there for?
So I started here at the end of October, so just over 2 months.
Okay, and I remember when you were about to get the job, how excited you were. Now, as far as, because those of us that know you are a huge hockey fan. How exciting is it to be working for a WHL franchise, or any hockey franchise for that matter? How exciting is that for you?
It's super exciting. It's super exciting to come to the rink every morning, crack open the computer, check your emails. It's all hockey related. Going down during practice, grabbing photos of the guys, uploading that, promoting the team. It's a dream come true. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and I couldn't ask for a better place to do it, because if a lot of people know I interned with the Kelowna Rockets a couple years ago. So coming back to the team, I knew the coaching staff, most of the coaching staff, a lot of the people here, the front office. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, that's right. You did intern with them, so you have some familiarity with the organization. Tell us a little bit about your role. Like, what would be a day-to-day activity for you right now?
So day-to-day activity is trying to get out a press release about the team, upcoming game, or maybe a player profile. Keeping the social media engaging, up to date. So usually I try and get out like 2 to 3 posts a day. So if they're on the ice at practice, or something that's coming up, or a fun photo from a previous game, we're really lucky here to have a couple super talented photographers on our team, and they have a great lighting system. So every time they take photos of the arena, it's great. And then when we have games, I create all of those roster templates for the scouts, for the fans. And then there's a fan pack for fans to download too that I also create.
So how much of your day-to-day job would you say requires you to be very familiar with the team and the Dub itself, like what's going on around the league, and is that, I imagine that's kind of a mandatory thing, is it, to be aware of what's going on?
Yeah, so the league produces a couple things. They have like top 10 saves and top 10 goals of the week, and so you got to kind of keep an eye out for them, and when those come out, you retweet them and promote them. And if the league is promoting your team at all, you want to promote those players and those posts too.
Now, do you get any insight into, obviously the WHL is a smaller league than the NHL with a lot less money, but does that give you any insight into what's happening at the the NHL level? Do you see anything around there?
I wish.
Yeah, no, okay. And like the curiosity for me is recently, kind of my sort of end of 2018 podcast with Megathread Mike Dursa. I went off a little bit on the Oilers' social media, but I mean, you might not have insight into what's going on at that level, but does it give you a little bit more, respect for what's going on, in that kind of a role?
It's interesting because, like, before I used to always complain about the Oilers not being engaging enough on social media a lot. And I kind of completely understand now why sometimes they don't engage so much with fans. Because it's hard, because sometimes you get tangled up with people who are super passionate, or they jump in, and sometimes, like, I wonder, like, how many people do the Oilers have muted?
Yeah.
Because I've had to utilize that function a few times.
Fair enough. We won't ask you for names, but you know what? I get that. I mean, I'm running this small little podcast, and while I don't mute anybody specifically, well, that's a lie. There are two people I've muted, but I do find, as the notifications start to grow, and people start to message you all the time, you kind of get a small sort of, idea of what's going on, even with media folks, right? Like, you talk about Low Tide and these guys, right? And sometimes they interact, sometimes they don't, but they must get, thousands of notifications. I'm happy if I get 100, right? And they... I'm sure they get thousands, because when something that I do sparks interest, it's just unbelievable. I can imagine now, though. I mean, on the social media account, you probably do get hundreds or thousands of notifications on a daily basis.
Yeah, it really depends on the day. If there's a game, or if there's not a game, or if there's a trade or a transaction, definitely you can notice an uptick in and the things that go on the social media, and even in the Google Analytics of the web page.
So you probably have to be pretty tight-lipped, right? Like, do you hear about trades, probably in advance of them happening? Have there been moments of that happening, and you're just waiting there? You've got it written up, and you're waiting for the league to approve it. Is that fair to say?
Pretty much when a trade goes down, you just have to wait. You have to let the league know and get your press release ready, and then you set a time to release it at the same time as the other team. So.
Oh, yeah, okay. So are you in communication with the other team then as well? Like the other social coordinators?
Yeah, so even for like rosters and stuff for upcoming games, we communicate back and forth to get those to each other.
Yeah, okay. What's been the biggest eye-opener for you? Well, that you can talk about, I guess. let's maybe put it that way.
So I personally haven't ever had to set up interviews for other people on trying to set up interviews on their time. So that's probably been the biggest eye opener for me, is setting up interviews.
Okay, so what kind of interviews would you set up? You got an example, maybe?
So Guy Fleming with the Pipeline show.
You bet. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good show.
So I set up the interview between him and Nolan Foote.
Oh, okay.
And so the team was actually on the road when I was trying to set it up. So that makes it a little bit harder when they're in transit from city to city, and trying to get ready from their games and the time change and all that.
Now, do you actually get a chance to sit back and watch the games then? Or it's all work, obviously, but you get to enjoy.
I watch every single Rockets game. So when they're at home, I sit up in the press box, and then while they're on the road, I actually don't travel with the team. The WHL has a live feed that people can subscribe to, and so I watch the live feed from my kitchen table and live tweet.
Oh yeah, nice. Do you get? I hope you pay for that. They pay for the live feed.
Oh yeah, absolutely, it's complimentary. Yeah.
Good. We're let's do a thing, because for those of you that might be tuning in and don't watch WHL, I get out. I'm of course based in Calgary, so I get out to the Hitmen game. I like to watch the Oil Kings when they're in town. I'll have to go to a Rockets game now, I guess, just because. That's right. Where do they go? Just to the WHL site to subscribe to that? Do you know?
I think it's just trying to look it up right now. Sorry, give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I believe it's called WHL Live.
Okay.
And yeah, you can subscribe, and so it's actually it's the feed of the games from the Jumbotron, what they see at the game.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
and you can listen to the home or the away radio broadcast.
Like watching Oilers preseason kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Everybody's gonna want to know because they already tweeted about it. How's Charlie doing? And for those that don't know, Charlie's page is Celebrity Cat. Oh, your audio kicked out a little bit. I don't know if people can hear you, but let's try this again. There we go.
Okay, so Charlie's good. I made the executive decision. So I was living with my grandpa in Edmonton, and I felt terrible. I felt terrible leaving because we've done everything together for a handful of years. And so I made the decision to leave Charlie with my grandpa. And my brother is still living with my grandpa. I actually pay my brother a stipend to clean the litter box and feed the cat.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I'm guessing you still get a chance to see Charlie if you came home for Christmas or anything like that.
Yeah. So I got to hang out with him at Christmas, which is pretty exciting. He's an incredibly needy cat. He's an incredibly spoiled cat. He eats treats off of my grandpa's head. He doesn't know how to eat treats out of a palm. It's unbelievable.
Well, that's all right. So for those of you listening right now, Charlie's doing all right. Continuing to eat treats off the head. Yeah. He's living a dream. He's paying a retainer for somebody to look after him.
My grandpa's actually so excited. So when I moved out here, I forgot that Charlie's pet license through the city of Edmonton was up for renewal. And so my grandpa went down there to pay for it, and they added him as a co-owner. So officially my grandpa is now a co-owner. So he was quite excited about that.
Oh, wow. I guess that would be pretty exciting. Your audio is cutting out just a little bit again, but that's all right. So do you, Paige, we talked prior to getting you on today. Do you have a chance to see any Oilers games? I mean, that's probably not a bad thing this year, or at least the last 5 or 6. You probably know what's going on. Do you get a chance to see any games?
I don't really get a chance to see any. I'm so burned out from watching like our team's games, and by the end of it, you just want a break. And so when the Oilers come on, it's like, So sometimes I'll tune in for a couple minutes or whatever. Usually I rely on Twitter to catch most of it.
Yeah, no, well. So you get the
truly. I get the real vibe of the game.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know if that's the real vibe. That's the definitely the that's the crazy vibe for sure. Does Kelowna make it to Edmonton at all the rest of the season?
So we actually played out there. We did a road trip just before Christmas. And yeah, so we swung out to Edmonton, and we defeated the Oil Kings actually 3-1 and held Trafford Wolanski off the score sheet.
Nice. And what about, are you in Calgary at all? You going to be in Calgary?
So we actually also played in Calgary just before Christmas.
Yeah, of course. So most of the listeners that'll be on here will be from Edmonton or Calgary. What I'm curious about is if folks are going to watch the Rockets, who are the guys to watch right now? Oh, I lost your audio again. You gotta get your audio fixed. I'm hearing some static. Sounds like somebody's skating. No, I'm not hearing you. Other people might be, but I'm not. There we go. You hit something. You there?
I don't know.
There you go. You're back. Awesome.
Okay.
All right, so let us know from the Rockets who are the guys to watch.
So Nolan Foote, he's an A-rated prospect. He's supposed to be drafted in the first round this year. The kid has an unbelievable one-timer and grip shot. Caden Korzak, he's a defenseman. He's incredibly exciting to watch as well. He's more of a defensive defenseman. And then there's Lassie Thompson. So Lassie's an import from Finland. He's in his first season here in Canada. And Lassie can skate through the neutral zone. Like, it's nobody's business. He had a fabulous end-to-end goal, actually, my first game here in Kelowna, and, like, just unbelievable. And then we've got Roman Bazarin in net, and he's also a C-rated prospect who's projected to be drafted. And he's kind of got that old school vibe. He kind of dives out sometimes like Dominic Hasek to make a save. So, yeah, those are a few guys to keep your eyes on.
Yeah, and that's a couple of guys that are doing, like Lassie Thompson and Nolan Foote are two guys that people are talking might go first round right now, right, in 2019?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Rockets themselves, how are they doing this year?
So we're at 500. We're at 17-17 and a few overtime losses. But we're definitely building headway towards the Memorial Cup next year when we host it.
So that's got to be exciting for you, right? Like to be with the team, as you're going into sort of the year prior to the Memorial Cup, sort of the lead up. Are you already part of some planning for that?
Planning, not necessarily, no. Definitely, like, on social media wise, trying to build up hype. I'm trying to get in contact with some of the older players who were here during that 2004 Memorial Cup when they hosted and won, and so hopefully set up a few interviews or a few articles to, help engage the fan base and get them pumped as well. But that's not needed, to be honest with you. Everyone is really excited.
Yeah, and I'm sure most people know Kelowna's one hell of a hockey town with a pretty good history, I'd say. So, probably no shortage of excitement around the team. I saw it. It's funny because, I knew we were going to have this interview tonight, and somebody tweeted out, I can't remember who it was. I wish I could find it. But it's somebody clearly that goes to some junior games and did a little Twitter rant about, these just being kids, right? And like, calm down, right? Like a fan yelling, I'd like to see that guy out on a stretcher or something like that. Like,
oh, wow.
I mean, and I've been to junior games, and that's not uncommon, right? But are you ever surprised, like, when you look, like, when you go out there and you realize, like, these are kids out there, right? Like, we kind of treat them as adults because they're providing entertainment for us that we've paid for. But you ever surprised at the, how fans treat, these junior aged kids?
Yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me at all. You definitely see it more on social media where they can hide behind a username or a computer screen or whatever, but they're just kids at the end of the day, and I think I realize that a little bit more than other people because I get the chance to interview them and see them and interact with them every day.
And are there any players that sort of really surprise you, or maybe they all do, at the maturity level that they have? I mean, what I find sort of fascinating and having played hockey my whole life is, you spend so much time away from home that you really have, no choice but to, be mature, or you're not going to survive, right? But is there anything like that that's, now that you've interned there, so maybe this is all old hat for you, but like, what's, when you're around the players, what's probably the most surprising thing being around junior players that you notice?
They're just teenagers. They're just kids. They're just here, to play their game and hone their craft, and hopefully at the end of the day, hear their name called when they're at the draft and keep living that dream. I noticed a big change in the guys that were, say, 16, 17 when I was here doing my internship, and they're now in their 19 and 20-year-old seasons, and they're a lot more talkative and a lot more friendly than what they were when I first interned. And so I've started to realize, they do mature as they get older.
Yeah. I know that can't be said about every guy, but I know it took me a number of years before.
There are some guys here that are younger that are like the most like outroverted, outgoing guys, and there are some older guys that are a little bit quiet, and you got to kind of get to know them a little bit.
Yeah. And I think that's great, right? That you've had some contrast between a couple of years ago and now, and you can kind of see how players are developing, and hopefully that carries on for a while. Tell us a little bit about because what was it, last year or the year before, the Oilers were in Kelowna for the at the Prospera place for the rookie camp, right? Or the not the rookie camp, but the
Young Stars
Young
tournament. I
Stars,
think that's usually in Vernon, yeah.
Oh, okay, that wasn't in Kelowna. Maybe
Nope.
maybe tell me a little bit about the it's Prospera place, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's where the Rockets play. Yeah, it's Prospera.
Yeah. So what's that like there? What's the arena and the facilities like there?
So it's a good little arena. It seats about just over 5,000 people for hockey games at max capacity, and there's not a bad sight line. It's all lower bowl. There's no upper bowl kind of view to it. The really neat thing about it is around the one end of the rink, they have a restaurant, and they have rail seating there. So you can actually sit in the restaurant and enjoy, a buffet during the game and watch the game from those rail seats up there.
Oh, yeah? Right on.
And the rink is in a great location. It's right on, I think, Water Street. Forgive me. Not from Kelowna. All I really know is the rink and my home and the store.
Might be like that for a while too, right? Yeah.
So it's right by the casino where the dolphins are and everything, and so it's a great area to be in. You're right downtown.
They got dolphins in Kelowna.
Statue dolphins.
Oh, okay. I have been to Kelowna, but I've never seen dolphins. I'll have to go. Usually when I'm there, it's work related, or I'll actually be there in June, but by that time I'm sure there won't be much hockey in there. Yeah. What do they must practice there too, and do all the things around the team? Is everything there?
So
the team's offices there as well?
Yeah, so my office is also there. The Rockets office is there. The boys have a gym upstairs that they work out in. They hit the ice there every day for practice, except, when there's a concert or an event. Sometimes they'll practice at another arena in town. But they're almost always at Prospera.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And what do the games, are they always sold out? Is it pretty well attended?
They're actually pretty well attended for, you see, like, I'm from Edmonton, right? So it was always interesting because the Oil Kings always struggled to try and fill the bowl when I was growing up at Rexall. Yeah. And so it's great to come out here and see the support from the city, and they're so invested in the team. And one of the things I love to do is to go on the concourse before the game and try and find an old school jersey that someone's wearing and share that on our Instagram stories.
Oh yeah, like what? I think I looked it up. They were Tacoma before they became Kelowna, right?
Yeah, they sure were.
So it's actually I guess you would have just missed the 20-year anniversary, but you'll be coming up. So Memorial Cup will be the 25th year for the.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting, actually, for the franchise, I'm sure. You're gonna have a hell of a year, Paige. That's gonna be a lot of fun. You might end up muting a whole ton more people, because as things get to be a little bit more popular, you end up having to mute more people. That's just the way it works. but yeah, that should be a lot of fun. But what's it like, sort of being around the team all the time, like a junior team? Do you kind of get a feel for the amount of effort and work that these kids put in? Like, are you around them enough to kind of see what they're doing regularly? I'm
around them enough to see them on the ice. So during their practice, when they're working, and when they get off the ice, who stays out a little bit longer, who's working on one-timers. I get to see that kind of stuff. It's incredibly important to stress that I don't have a friendship with the players. Yeah. We work together, essentially, right? I'm there to promote the team and promote them, and I know that's something that a lot of people have said. It's, oh yeah, you get to hang out with so and so, and it's like, no, I don't get to hang out with so and so. I get to take pictures and interview so and so, and that's my job.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense, right? Like you have to, I would imagine you have to take a step back, and the last thing you want to be is friends, I guess, with, especially when it's a work sort of related thing. You know, you do your job right, I guess, this way, right? You know, as you're going through this, and you're kind of around the team all the time. Is there an excitement around certain teams that come to town? Like obviously, you know, some of the local area teams. There's some rivalries there. What's probably your favorite team or the one that gets hyped the most when they come to town? Oh, I lost you again.
Oh, Kamloops.
Kamloops. Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so
And
there's a huge rivalry there. Anyways, we actually just played them in a home and home series this past weekend, and it was good old hockey.
oh yeah, yeah, and do you find that the players themselves get riled up for it as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot more hacks and chops, a lot more, chatting on the way to the bench.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, akin to like sort of a mini Battle of Alberta rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Although in recent years that hasn't meant a whole lot. but
like when as long as I've been alive, the Battle of Alberta hasn't been heated.
Yeah.
Watching these Kamloops Kelowna games, it must be what those games were like in the 80s.
Oh yeah, is that good?
Yeah, it's that good.
That's actually that's kind of cool. And what about fans? Like, are there do a lot of Kamloops fans come? Like is it like Slapshot and the booster bus comes into town and
I haven't noticed that. They've only played each other twice since I've been out here.
Yeah.
But I think they have done bus trips in the past.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the chance to travel with the team, or that just never happens?
No, I don't get to, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad.
But you know what? I have such a busy work life that it's nice to be able to be at home.
I bet. Yeah. And how are you finding Kelowna living there? Like, pretty nice place. Weather's probably a lot nicer than back home.
Yeah, the weather's great here. There was no snow on the ground, and then I came back after Christmas, and it just kept snowing like crazy and wouldn't stop.
Of course, you do have a golf background, so you've lived in warmer climes and played golf year round, no doubt. So I'm sure this just being in a warmer area is not the biggest deal to you. You did return to Edmonton after all.
Yeah. I came home for Christmas and it was chilly.
Yeah. Do you do you ever get to go out skating or anything when you're out there? Do you do any? I know you had started playing hockey when you were out in Edmonton, and
yeah. So my mom actually jokes that this all kind of happened because I signed up for hockey and I paid like a $800 deposit to play hockey. And
oh no, you didn't, did you?
The $800 deposit.
Oh man, that's too bad.
But I'm lucky. One of my friends, I sold it to them at a discounted price. So now she's playing hockey, which is great for her. But I honestly don't have time to join a league out here. We play games on Fridays and Saturdays, like almost every week. But the cool part is at Stewart Park downtown here in the city outside, we actually have an outdoor skating rink.
I was at the outdoor rink today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was here in Calgary. It was plus 4 degrees, and what a gorgeous day. This year I've been out to the outdoor rink a few times, but I play so much hockey I never get a chance to go. And I finally had a chance to go, and it was great. It felt good to be outside, and the only thing I hate is it always wrecks the skates. So
yeah,
you got to go to the I mean there's dirt and everything out there, so you got to.
And the rocks, yeah.
And the rocks, yeah. So tell us, and we'll maybe wind this down. I mean, if you do you see this morphing into anything else, or is this kind of what's your dream as far as being around a hockey franchise? Like, where do you want to take this right now?
right now, I'm just happy to be living the dream. 4 years ago, I was out of college, or not 4 years ago, I guess. I graduated in 2013 from college and couldn't get a job in what I went to school for, which was radio. I worked at Starbucks for 3 years. I was an incredibly negative person. And, like, I'm fortunate enough that, 2 years ago, the Rockets brought me in to do an internship, and that seemed to open up the door for me to wedge my foot in the door with my previous job. And then, to be able to come back to Kelowna, I'm incredibly grateful and just happy to be living my dream right now. And, whatever the future holds, I'll see that later. But, right now I'm just focused on today and now.
And so if people are wanting to follow the Kelowna Rockets on Twitter, which if they're not already, they should be, because we all know somebody, we all know and love somebody that's out there working that Twitter account. And what's the Kelowna Rockets Twitter handle?
So the Kelowna Rockets Twitter handle, as I just pull it up right now, is Kelowna_Rockets.
All right. You're supposed to know that off by heart, by the way. That was not meant to be
Yeah,
a
we have a few
trick
different
question,
handles because I guess when they got onto social media, some of them were already taken, so they couldn't have all the same handle all the way through.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's changed a little bit. And if they want to follow just Paige and find out maybe what's any updates on Charlie or anything else in this world, where do they find Paige?
So I'm on Twitter. My handle is Norzy, NOOORZY. I'm also on Instagram. I'm not that interesting, but it's Nutella on Toast 7.
That's right. Well, you know what? I did see a couple of Charlie Instagram posts on there, so that was that's all good. Paige, anybody that's known you obviously thinks you're awesome. Hard to believe you said earlier that you had some negative times there. It's hard to believe. I've never seen you not smiling, so glad to hear, though, you're doing something you really love. Us Oilers fans are, we've got enough negativity here, so it's good to see, somebody smiling right now. And even the first comment we had on the Periscope live feed was "Fire Chiarelli," so that kind of tells you where we're at. I know you and I almost a year ago had that conversation, so we're still in the same boat out here. Hopefully, you get a chance at some point to watch a couple Oilers games, and maybe we need a little bit of luck. Maybe we need you to watch a game so that we can win one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, 6 in a row it's been a tough sled. I want to thank you so much for joining today, and I'm just going to close it down. And while I do, stay online, and you and I can chat before you go.
Cool, absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in.